Did you know that parents and leaders do the same things? They raise people to thrive without them. Now, you might not be a parent, but you're part of the village for raising children. And the African proverb says, it takes a village to raise children. You might be an aunt, you might be a grandparent or mentor. Now let me take you back to the beginning of my story. February 14th, 2005. Where were you? Now, some of you might not be born yet, but I know where I was. And on that day, cold, wintry February morning, which was also Valentine's Day, it was a day of love. And that day, my husband and I, at the time, we should have spent the day reminiscing and reflecting on our love. And we did. But it was also a delivery day, because I was 9 months pregnant, ready to drop at any time. And so we exchanged our gifts, and we made our way to the hospital. Called a taxi, because this was the days before Uber. So can you imagine the days before Uber? And when the taxi arrived, he saw my pregnant belly, and when we told him where we're going, he understood the assignment. And he made his way as fast as he could to the nearest hospital. And once we arrived, the medical staff took over, got everything ready. We also contacted our family and we said, look, we're at the hospital. But by the time they arrived, the baby was already here. And I remember that moment when I heard this cry of a baby, and it's that loud cry of a baby demanding attention and saying, here I am in the world. And as I held him, I remember feeling this sense of love that was different to anything I'd ever experienced. But I also felt this sense of anxiety because I'd never been a parent. And so, but I made a decision and I said, you know what, it's a privilege to bring this child into the world, but also I was going to do the work on myself, learn everything I knew about parenting. And so it began a journey of learning all about child development, adolescent development, parenting styles, attachment styles. And today, 20 years later, he's 6 foot tall. He's on the cusp of his future because he's just finished his 2nd year of university, and he's excited about where that is going to take him. I also have a 13-year-old. And that journey has flown by. And so you might be a parent thinking, oh gosh, I'm just starting out. But trust me, it flies by. Because did you know that parenting is the most impactful form of leadership? Because the behavior that we model at home becomes their roadmap. And I've also worked with families in the last 20 years, and one thing is evident. Parenting is not just caregiving, it is leadership. And so those 20 years have flown by in a flash. And one of the things that we think about in terms of time is that, did you know that it takes the average parent 158,000 hours in raising their children in their lifetime? And let that sink in. 158,000 hours. And for some parents, it might be more. For some parents, it might be less. And you might be thinking, I'm not a parent. But I want you to think about parenting as leadership, because it is indeed the most impactful form of leadership. C.S. Lewis says it this way. He says, children are not a distraction from the most important work. They are the most important work. And this is not a message to beat you around the head, but it's a moment for you to reflect on your parenting, but also what you wish to do when you become a parent or if you become a parent. And one of the things that parents do as well, and I know I did, is sacrifice. And so when the children were little, made a decision to spend time with them, raising them and investing in their future, investing in the time now. So it meant taking a pay cut, working term time only. But what it did was prepare them for the future. And we know, research says that child development and the early stages of their development is the most important and sets them up for the future. And so sacrifice is indeed what leaders do. So think of leaders that you might know. So Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, and Stevie Wonder. One of the things they do is they've had to sacrifice to reach the pinnacle of their career. And there are also three main characteristics of leaders. So vision, accountability, and empathy. But all of that is underpinned by communication. And parents as leaders do the same thing. They have vision for their family, they have empathy, they teach their children, and accountability, so that village that we talked about to raise children. When leaders start leadership, they go on courses, they take MBAs, they go on leadership courses, but yet why are we ill-prepared for parenting? And remember that what we model as parents becomes a child's roadmap. And parenting is bigger than just managing behavior. It is shaping the future, and it is leadership. Did you know that the way you speak to your child becomes their inner voice? And that voice stays with them for life. And the American abolitionist, Frederick Douglass, says it this way. He says, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." And as our children grew, especially when my eldest got to teenage years, and we know the adolescent stage is full of, angst and boundary pushing and defiant behavior. But I realized that he wasn't the problem. I needed to work on myself. I needed to do the work. So I started a journey of counseling, therapy, coaching. And what it did was actually show me all about myself, self-awareness. So it became an increased way to understand myself better. But it also shaped what I did in the future. Because it showed me that when we work on ourselves as parents, we look deep within ourselves, we understand why we do what we do and why we parent the way we parent. And so leadership and parenting is not just about having all the answers. It's about leading with intention. Because how we raise them really matters. Children want to be led, not just fed. And parenting indeed is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And we see that with leaders. It takes them a while before they get to the pinnacle of their career. And 20 years ago, I made that decision to break generational cycle, to work on my trauma, to heal so that I do not pass on things to the children. And it's been hard work, but the results are profound. I see my son today and those that I mentor, but also parents and hundreds of parents I've worked with and their families. And one thing is evident: parenting is the most important, impactful form of leadership. So let us prepare for parenting like we do leadership. Let us also teach them that love is not just a feeling, it's the way we are. That self-esteem is not just found in a screen, but in a mirror. And together, let's raise a generation that will not have to recover from their childhood. Let us teach them about courage with clarity and with compassion. Because parenting is the most impactful form of leadership. So let us lead with love. Let us raise the future. And let us parent with purpose.